Hi My Guy, welcome back to My Guy Reviews. This is My Guy Monkey, and this week I'm having a look at the PS4 game on PSN, Road Redemption, usually at $15.99. I've wanted to do this for a while. I got it back in February myself for when it was discounted at $9.89, and right now it is on discount again at $9.59 over April. So to bring it to you, well, I've been playing it ever since, and I wanted to tell you why that is and what's appealing about it. But now that it's back on discount, I want to let you know whether it's worth you buying the game, depending on your taste. Of course, I'm going to say it's worth buying, but it really depends on your taste. So, what is Road Redemption? Okay, so Road Redemption is it's a road rash type game, which has been long in the making. We've been waiting for a good road rash game in the modern era for a long time. And I guess I better explain to those who don't know the Road Rash series, where it comes from and what it's all about. So Road Rash was a game on the Mega Drive, the Sega Mega Drive, back in the 90s, and it's a typical sort of driving game, driving straight forward, as is the case in the older racing genre games. But the difference with this one was that it was on motorbikes, which was different in itself, but also that it involved motorbike combat between the competitors. So you could essentially you'd have something like a baseball bat or some other melee weapon, and you would bash the crap out of the competitors to try and get the edge. And starting off early, you would they would fight back a little bit, maybe not. Then as you get further on, they would perhaps fight back a little bit more, get alongside them, bash them, and they fight back. Won about 3 games on the Mega Drive. The original was on the PlayStation and Saturn and some other things, but the games after those 3 games were poor. So we had Road Rash 3D on the PlayStation, Road Rash Jailbreak, and they tried to bring 3D to the series, but not so successfully, which is why people have been looking to find a 3D Road Rash game ever since, really. It was a very popular series at the time, but which is why there was a large fan base, but we've never really seen anything quite capture it. We've had a few fan attempts that have tried to do a spiritual sequel, but they didn't really capture the vibe, just by probably going too 3D and not really getting the physics right. And that brings us to Road Redemption now, because there is another one you can get on PlayStation called Road Rage, which failed quite a bit, which was also supposed to be a spiritual successor to Road Rash. But again, it failed. It was open world, didn't quite capture the vibe at all. But this one does a much better job at capturing that vibe, which is where we come to already the pros and cons of this game, because it is quite a basic game, and if you're looking for a hard-hitting sort of AAA game, this is not your game at all. I would say, it's not worth your time in that respect. But if you're looking for a Road Rash game in the 21st century, then yeah, I would recommend this game. Why? Well, it is a combat game, a motorbike combat game, racing game. You don't have as long a tracks as you might do in the originals, where you would get longer and longer tracks as you get the levels up, etc. But on this one, the tracks are shorter and with gaps in between, but it's still very much focused on a single player experience. So you're racing, it's no holds barred racing. On campaign there's lots of some other options, but we'll go through first what the options are on the menu screen. Let's see, we've got campaign plus, we've got classic, quick play, and online. So let's have a look at all of those. I would recommend starting with the classic quick play, and all of those are 9 competitors, so 10 racers, and it is no holds barred racing, so you can literally smash up all of your opponents and with the race without even having to beat them on speed. I recommend going that first if you are playing the game, because you as soon as you start to become a more powerful character with unlocks and such, it's not going to be as much of a challenge on them. So I recommend going there to test out the road and the mechanics and getting used to the driving a little bit. So yeah. Okay, so what are the differences really on that respect in the combat? I'd say in Road Rash, the older games, the competitors were a bit tougher, but in this one they're a bit easier. They're not really trying to line up with you and bash you so much there, and they don't really take as many hits. Further along in the campaign mode they start to get a little bit harder, but not so much generally. So it's not quite as tough in that respect to win races, but the campaign does become a challenge. So I recommend starting with the classic quick races, so you can get all the goals on there with a proper challenge, because it's not so challenging a little bit later on. But what the game does do is to make sure that you're always able to get into that bike-to-bike combat. It throws plenty of extra riders at you, so a little bit less like the original. It throws a lot of people that will try and get right up to your level, and that gives you a chance to really just enjoy beating the crap out of other drivers and enjoying yourself there. But that's not the only reason that you will want to take a crack at bashing all of these extra guys. I mean, they're attacking you, so you need to defend yourself, which is good as well. But also taking them down will give you XP and cash which is really only useful in the campaign mode. So try and talk through the campaign mode. I mean, the campaign mode is really where the game thrives, and it goes it really comes back to the original sort of experience, Road Rash experience, and any old retro game experience of a single player experience where you play, you just go through the game once trying to get to the end, and when you die you lose, you go right back to the beginning again, and you start off afresh. So the campaign mode is quite challenging, but what the game does is try to sort of hybrid some of the more modern elements of games. It calls itself a roguelite, which it is in a sense. I mean, when you start a campaign, it's essentially about 18 events in a row, and it sort of shuffles up what events those are going to be. So it could be racing, or it could be having to take out other opponents. Sometimes it's just getting to the end without getting killed, surviving to the end, and that mixes the things up a little bit, but it's not really that big a deal. The rogue element is the tracks that it chooses. It's barely worth it really, but it does add a bit of flexibility to it. There is an XP system, but it only exists within that campaign, within that attempt. So once you finish, the XP goes back to 0, but you get to spend the XP on things you get to keep, which makes the game a little bit easier, which is where a thing that comes from more modern games, I find, where they just try to make it easier if you fail, which is good in itself. It means that every time you play you do gain a little something, so eventually you'll be able to hopefully complete this game by just getting through and slowly leveling up through the XP. But as you can see, the skill tree to get to the later things is the later, if you really want to get to the later XP unlocks, then you have to unlock everything before it at least once. You've got a few that you can use multiples of, but it means you don't really have as much choice as you could have, but it's got that XP thing. The other element of modern gameplay is like a card game element, where in between each of those events you will have the cash then to spend on a selection of cards that come up. Essentially it's like having a card game, because it will come up with a selection of cards, a section of 6 cards, and you can choose which ones to spend your money on from that round. Again, the cash goes completely after this attempt once you lose or win, but you can choose between whether you're going to if you might want to spend your cash on just some temporary things that just bring your health back up or your nitro back up ready for the next round, or if you've got it spare, then you'll want to try and spend on permanent upgrades for this game anyway, upgrades for this attempt that will increase your cash flow or increase your health. The way that the campaign works is that if you don't achieve what you need to on each event, if you do achieve it, then you get cash coming in. If you don't achieve it, then you're going to lose health permanently for this attempt, so you lose a whopping 25% health, and campaign plus you lose even more health. So that's what encourages you to get better and to achieve each thing, and I think that's a great thing. I mean, it's really just like the old style of gaming where you really had to just keep plugging out a game, and I've found this really good, and it can take up to an hour to play an attempt sometimes, but it can take less if you die, obviously, but it just means that you have to keep trying, and the music sometimes feels a bit outrunny, but usually it's kind of rocky, more like Road Rash style, and you just got to plough forward and get to the end, becoming more skillful at bashing the opponents, and some of the upgrades give you extra weapons to start with and things, which does make the game a lot easier. So once you've got a pistol unlocked to right from the beginning of the attempt, then you've got something to take out the bosses. And without wanting to go into any spoilers, really, there's a boss in each sort of. There's 3 sections on the campaign, and there's sort of a boss near the end you just have to take out, who's a bit tougher. And that's the campaign mode, really. I think if you really like the Road Rash experience, and you really like that old single player Mega Drive sort of try and complete the game from the beginning to the end, then you're going to like this game, and I think it's worth buying. I'm not sure about $15.99, but I would pay under £10. If it's under £10, personally it was definitely worth it for me. I'd say again, it's a cheaply made game. It's quite a bit flawed in the way it looks, and sometimes bugs out a little bit, but if you're just looking for that type of experience, then go for it. If you're looking for a AAA title, then don't. Maybe think twice. It's something to think about. Now the letdown is online. I don't think they've done the online very well. But for the first attempt that I went to try to go online, it couldn't even find a server, which is a problem. When I went to record that, just to show you for this, I actually managed to connect to a server, which was great, but there were no players, so the online option is kind of pointless. It should be competitive multiplayer online, but it doesn't work. Even if people were there playing, I mean, this isn't a popular game, it's not a big game, so that might be why, but even if there were, the online, there's very little options apart from choosing and unlocking bikes and bikers and weapons, so it just picks one track and makes you go along it 3 to 5 times until there's a clear winner. It's a team match as well. And I say that's not really worth it. Online is a big letdown once I finally got into it, but I couldn't even get into it anyway at first, and that's not really what the focus of it was for me, and I've really enjoyed it just as a single player experience. Like I say, I've had it since February, and even though I'm playing other games like Shenmue and things like that, I just come back to this for a bit of action. And yeah, let's talk about the trophies actually, because that's one of the things that makes it a great replayable game, is that the characters you can choose from are actually quite varied in what their benefits and detriments are. So some you can't even, like, there's one like a no combat version where you're not allowed to hurt anyone or something. I think I haven't used that one yet. There's one where it's no guns. There's one where you can only use decapitations using your bladed weapons, and that just shakes up once you've unlocked everything, like what kind of the challenges are going to be, and to get to the end of the game with each of those characters is going to keep you going to it means you can keep going on that single player sort of straight line experience, but keep replaying and enjoying trying to do that. I've not found any too hard yet, but I'm getting there. I've gone over below the 2% rarity trophy now. I'm just working through the rarities of them at the moment. There are other trophies. You get trophies for all those quick races, getting gold in most of those. I think you get a trophy. I did that straight away. Obviously some of those were a bit of a challenge because I took it on without all the XP unlocks, and also using certain things a certain number of times, like decapitations with a samurai sword was quite a fun challenge, because you can't actually unlock the samurai sword in the XP trees, so I had to had to keep playing until the random card came up to upgrade to a sword, and then I had to try and get enough kills before I died or got to the end of the thing, and it had to be sword kills, so that was quite a good challenge. And yeah, for that reason it's a good replayable game for trophy hunters as well. So yeah, I would give this for retro gaming, but I would give it a 5 stars. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's really down to your taste, and if you like if you've been looking for this sort of retro gaming, but in the modern era a little bit, then big road rash fan or sketchin fan, yeah, I'd give it a try. So thank you very much for watching. Blah blah blah, subscribe and all that business, and it's been great to be your host today in telling you, should I buy or shouldn't I. Probably to round up actually, just to say, so should you buy it? If you're looking for online experience, no. If you're looking for retro experience, yes. If you're looking for AAA experience, probably not. And yeah, that's it. I mean, you get the thrilling, you get your road rash fix of having to try and bash an opponent at the same time as not being hit by an oncoming car, and that's just brilliant. So yeah, I recommend that. Until next time, keep it my guy, and I'll leave you with some gameplay.
Crossing into Sigma Gang's territory. They stockpile all sorts of high-tech gear. I hope you smash it all to bits.
Terminating Sigmas in Sigma territory is a very illogical choice.
Ha! Should order a coffin or a recycling bin?